Welcome to the Complete Fitness Podcast with Core for Complete Fitness. Your episode is starting in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, peoples, and happy... Didn't change the calendar. What day is it today? October 4th. Forgot to flip the calendar over. Hope you guys are having a great day. Hopefully you had an awesome September going into October. Before we get going in on what we're talking about today, guys, in today's podcast, like always, if you could please subscribe to this podcast, it'll help us keep growing this thing on iTunes, Spotify, Audible, YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a little subscribe button. If you just click it, we won't spam you or anything like that. All that will happen is you'll just get notified when a new episode drops. So that way you don't have to scroll down and go, crap, I missed 2 or 3 weeks. You'll get a little update every time a new one drops, and it'll help us grow this thing the more subscribers that we get. Also, if this has helped you or there is somebody that you're like, hey, I know Susie Q needs to hear this message. She has this problem on how to lose 10 pounds or a question about diet or mindset. Share it on social media. You can even just copy this and text it to people if you want. That'll help us keep growing this and impacting more people along the way. So thank you guys. Now, today's topic is our bread and butter, and it's something that we know a lot about here at both of our Core 4 Complete Fitness gyms, and that is the topic of high-intensity interval training. We're going to break it all down for you guys today, the benefits of everything, if you are not doing this type of training, why it might be beneficial for you, and if you are doing it, the actual benefits that are occurring inside your body, even though you might not know it. Now, the word high intensity freaks people out sometimes, but the word high intensity, it's a relative term based on the individual, right? What is high intensity to me might not be high intensity or too high of an intensity to somebody else. What's high intensity to me to an NFL athlete could be just a complete walk in the park. So the word high intensity is relative to the individual. For a lot of us, if we're new to exercising or working out, we go, oh my gosh, high intensity. I haven't exercised in a month, 2 months, 3 years, 10 years, whatever it could be. This could be too much for me. But remember, it's based on the individual. So your high intensity is going to be different from mine. Somebody else is going to be different from them. So if you ever go to a place and you're like high intensity interval training, remember, you are the one that sets the tone for the high intensity, right? A lot of these places, if they're great gyms, their goal is to challenge you, but not to murder you, right? We want you guys to feel good when you're out of here so you can kind of gauge what that word means to you, high intensity. If you want to go crazy and you're a seasoned vet and you're like, I've worked out my whole life, you can probably really raise that intensity level. If you're somebody that's new to exercising, you know, the goal is essentially, guys, when you're doing any type of high intensity interval training, and the reason why it's so effective is you spike your heart rate. I say the word spike, elevate your heart rate, let that subside a little bit, get your breath, elevate it again, let it subside a little bit, get your breath, elevate it again. And you go through these big spikes like this. And when you can take strength training or resistance training, and you can combine that with keeping your heart rate elevated, guess what? You get 10 times better results, 10 times quicker. It's one of the most efficient workouts you can do, especially if you're trying to preserve your muscle tissue and solely target body fat loss, right? If you think, okay, I got to go do cardio for 30 minutes and I got to go do strength training for 30 minutes. Well, what if you were able to combine the best of both worlds and do burpees right into push-ups, or you're able to do battle ropes right into shoulder presses, and you're able to kind of balance those two so your heart rate is elevated so you get the benefits of the cardiovascular workout, and then you also are working these big muscle groups, which is going to keep your bone density great, and it's going to make sure that you hang on to your lean muscle tissue. So that is the benefit of doing high-intensity interval training, but there's a ton of benefits to it. One of the biggest ones is, like I said, the time saver. Many people I should probably say the biggest reason why people say they can't get in shape or they can't get to the gym is that I just don't have time, right? I don't have time to drive 15, 20 minutes to the gym, plug away for, like I said, for 30 minutes on a treadmill or do 30 minutes of strength training. And then I got to shower. Then I got to drive 20 minutes back home. And by this time it's all said and done, you're like, holy shit, I've carved out 2 hours just to bang out this 45-minute or hour workout. Whether you come to us or whether you are training with somebody else, consider high intensity interval training for the reason that you're going to be able to bridge that gap and shorten the time, right? The reason, again, why high intensity interval training is so effective is because you're really able to push it, right? There's kind of a sweet spot in that 30 to 40-minute range where you're really able to give maximum effort. And it's when you give the maximum effort that yields those greater results. So imagine if you tried to do a super strenuous workout for an hour and a half, what would happen? Generally, what happens is this: one of two things. People either half-ass the first beginning portion of it or the first half of it, and they go, oh my God, I'm almost done. I really kind of just dogged it into where I am. I'm going to only push it for the end because I'm very, very close to being finished. Or they do the opposite. They feel good and they go, I'm going to give it a lot of effort right now. And that effort starts to decrease over time. And when it decreases, you lose efficiency, right? So they either push it in the beginning and kind of coast to the finish line because they're tired, or they kind of dog it in the beginning. And then when it's almost done, they end up giving it a lot of effort. Now, mentally, it's really easy to tell yourself, okay, I'm going to be here for 30, 35, 40 minutes, whatever it is. During that time, it's my goal to give it as much effort as I can because I know I'm going to be here for a short period of time. So there's kind of this Jedi mind trick that plays inside your head too. Whereas if you're like, I'm going to be doing something for an hour, hour and a half, I got to kind of save my energy reserves and not really give it a whole lot of effort because I have to make this last for a long period of time. That makes sense? Nod your head, yes. But that's kind of the reason behind it, why it's so effective and so efficient, is because you're able to do a lot more in that small time frame, and doing a lot more in a small time frame will give you greater results than doing, let's say, less exercises over a longer duration. So if you're short on time, if you're like, I got to blast this thing out, I only got 45 minutes each day to drive, get a workout in, and then I got to be either right back to work or back home, it's one of the most efficient workouts you can do. For that reason, it's just the time saver quality. And then if you want to go for a jog or you want to go for a run just because kind of that's your thing, or you like bike riding, by all means, you can still do that stuff, guys. But when you're going over here, let's say you're getting burpees done and your heart rate's 140, all of a sudden burpees are done. Okay, I'm going to start doing push-ups, but your heart rate's still elevated. Okay, here comes burpees again. Let's spike it again. Okay, now I'm back to push-ups, heart rate still elevated. Whereas if you're just doing steady state training, yes, it's still beneficial, but is it the most beneficial? If you're just doing a ton of push-ups, you're working the muscles, but odds are your heart rate isn't that much if you were just to blast out 30 to 45 seconds or a minute of burpees and then crank them out. So you're kind of killing two birds with one stone. The other thing, it has been scientifically proven to elevate your serotonin levels. If you don't know what your serotonin levels are, those are the happy hormones, the ones that make you feel good, the ones that put you in a good mood, the ones that kind of make you think happy thoughts, and it kind of sets the bar with your mood for the rest of the day. The amount of positive impact that HIIT training has on your brain, guys, I don't think a lot of people realize this. They just focus on the time-saving ability and how effective the workouts. But up here is where it plays one of the most efficient roles. I wrote all these bullet points down, and on accident, we had to get more Post-its for the gym. So I looked on Amazon, and I was like, oh my God, this is a killer deal. We can get like 600 Post-it notes for a fraction of the cost of what they would normally cost us. And when they came, they're only this big. So they're really, really small. So I have like 700 of these I have to burn through. So for all my note taking, I have to write super duper small. So if you see me glancing down, then that is why. So like we said, raises your serotonin levels, makes you happy, makes you feel good, puts you in a good mood. When you're in a good mood, guess what usually happens? You're going to make good decisions, better decisions than if you were in a poor mood. You're probably not going to eat junk if you're feeling good and you're happy. You're going to kind of be more even keel with your diet when you're not going through these peaks and valleys as far as your mood elevating and you're sad and you're happy. You're going to want to work out again, right? Because that feeling feels good. So when you get that serotonin rush, you go, I want to feel that good feeling again. So you come the next day and you come the next day and you come the next day. And then before you know it, you end up getting in really good shape all because that it made you feel good and you want to keep coming the next day. So that's the idea behind it, guys, is keeping that serotonin level high. It's like a big old rush for your body without taking any synthetic substances. It also regulates your attention. So when you get a good workout in, it heightens everything, right? Like we said with your serotonin levels. If those are going to get pumped out and you're going to feel good, you're going to be more focused at work, you're going to be in a better mood. You're also going to have more attention or be able to pay attention better, be able to focus better because all that serotonin is flooding through your body and you're not lethargic and you're not depressed and you're not exhausted and all those negative things that go without working out. So those are one of the big ones. Also, goes in with it, but just cognitive recollection. You're just able to kind of clear your head. You're able to clear out some of that cloudiness or fogginess that you get inside your brain. Think of it like having a cup of coffee without actually having a cup of coffee. One of the biggest things too is as we age, guys, we start to lose kind of our brain connectivity to our muscles, right? It's one of those things that if you don't use it, you lose it. So when you're going from lunges to burpees, I keep using burpees, let's say lunges over to high knees, over to mountain climbers, over to push-ups, over to a bent over row, and your body's constantly having to learn, okay, now I'm grabbing this and I'm pulling, now I'm grabbing this and I'm pushing, now I'm doing jumping jacks, now I'm doing a push-up, okay, I'm going to get a little break, then I have to go back. These pathways between your mind and your body are constantly having to stay sharp. So it goes, holy shit, I just did X, Y, and Z, now I'm having to relearn this. And you're using multifunctional body movements, right? It's not like you're just doing a squat or lifting a barbell or doing a push-up where it's just you're up and you're down, you're up and you're down, and your body gets efficient at that up and down movement. But in the real world, how do we move? We're grabbing, we're bending, we're pulling, we're pushing, we're leaning over, we're doing something. One move, you're bracing your core. The other one, you have to stabilize your shoulder. And when you can tie into all that, it keeps your body sharp. It keeps your mind sharp. So when you go to do things in the real world, or Mrs. Jones, who's 80 something years old, grabs a can of soup and then she falls over and breaks her hip because her balance is poor, or she hasn't used any muscles, or that connection isn't as sharp as it should be upstairs. That is one of the biggest benefits to high intensity interval training, guys, is keeping your mind and body sharp together. So when you go to bend and move and do things in the real world, it's going to play dividends from what you did inside the gym. That's going to pay off as far as longevity goes and doing the things that you want to do later in life. I've said it before, guys. I think the last podcast I touched on it, but one of the biggest things is you want to preserve your muscle tissue, right? Where there was this old way of thinking that if you just went for jogs outside or went on the elliptical, that you would just get shredded from head to toe. Well, as we learned, if you are a frequent podcast listener, once you get over the age of 30, we lose between 3 to 5 or 3 to 7% of our muscle mass per decade. So what is the way to prevent that from happening? You have to fight that. You have to strength train. You have to keep your muscles as strong as you possibly can. And the way that you do that is through resistance training. Now, the best thing with high intensity interval training, like we touched on, you're taking cardio, you're taking strength training, and you're balling it into one. So when you can keep and preserve that muscle tissue and get the cardiovascular benefits from doing the cardio movements, you're going to make sure that you're doing everything inside your power to preserve your muscle tissue if you don't want it to decrease over time. The other thing that we touched on, guys, your bone density starts to decrease at a certain age as well. So once your bone density starts to go to crap, you're more prone for cracks, breaks, things like that, little hairline fractures. So keeping your bone density strong, one of the number one things that you can do is to strength train as well. So those are number one and number two as far as why you should add resistance training in to your high intensity interval training routine. What else? I got a laundry list of shit, so get ready, guys. Helps your immune system. With this day and age, I won't get political with this stuff, but it reduces colds. It actually improves respiratory infections. They found by almost 50% in people. One of the reasons is, again, you're keeping your lungs active, you're keeping your lungs healthy, you're keeping your body strong. And when you keep your body strong, it's going to be able to fight off the crap that it should actually fight off. Imagine if you're sitting on the couch, you're a couch potato that's slugging Mountain Dew left and right, you're ordering cheeseburgers left and right, you're getting a pizza carry out left and right, or Grubhub every single day. The biggest exercise you get is maybe walking to and from the mailbox, and that's it. And guess what? When you get sick, it is probably going to be freaking catastrophic, right? Your immune system is going to go, I am weaker than hell. Cannot fight a damn thing, as opposed to somebody who actually takes care of themselves, who exercises regularly, who puts the right food in their body, who hydrates, who drinks water. If you do get sick or you do come in contact with stuff, your body is going to be strong, it's going to be prepped, and it's actually going to be able to fight off whatever that virus is. Now, you will get the time where you get sick or you're down for the count. Some of those things you can't fight, but I would much rather err on the side of I'm going to do everything possible to prevent and bounce these things off of me than to go, well, I'll just kind of lay down, play dead, and whatever happens to me, happens to me. I've said it before. You guys get one body to live in. So you damn well make sure you better take care of it, and it'll do a pretty darn good job of taking care of you as well. The other thing is our body, just like we touched on, has muscle. Now, with our muscle, there's different muscle fibers. You have type 1 muscle fibers and you have type 2 muscle fibers. Both of them are great. Your type 1, though, primarily is involved with slower, heavy, tough movements that require a lot of initial effort. Think of things like doing a really heavy back squat or doing a really heavy deadlift. Whereas type 2, those are your quick, fast twitch muscle fibers that are more springy, right? Those are used for things like jumping, running, springing off your toe, doing a jump squat, doing mountain climbers, being able to jump up high and touch something. Those are your type 2. One of the best things with high intensity interval training is you're able to tackle both of those. Like we touched on, you're able to tap into the type 1 where you might be doing squats or a deadlift, a type 1 movement. All of a sudden you set that weight down, and now we're going to do high knees in place to focus on your type 2, or skater jumps going left to right. So you're able to blend the best of both worlds to where you're not just focusing on one thing, where if it's a type 2, maybe you're a really good sprinter, but you might be a little bit weak inside the gym with your type 1 muscle fibers. So this strikes a nice harmonious balance between both of those to where you're able to do those things. You're able to move quick. You're able to bounce off your toes. You're able to jump, run, do all those things. But when it comes down to it and you have to tap into your type 1s to be able to lift something heavy, guess what? Those are ready to go for you as well. So you're able to kind of bridge the gap between both of those. The other thing, as far as what it does for fat burning, guys, I've touched on this before. One of the main reasons why HIIT training is so effective in terms of fat loss, once you work your muscles, it's in the repairing process that you get strong and you recover and all that stuff. And that's actually where you see results. So when that happens and we're causing these little muscle tears inside of our arm, right? Let's say we're doing a bicep curl. It's in the repairing process that those proteins go in there, they digest inside your belly, and they go and they do their thing and they repair all the muscles. It's in the repairing process that some of that fat begins to go bye-bye. Now, imagine if you didn't repair, or imagine if you didn't strength train and you were solely focused on running, just trying to do cardio. Guess what? That muscle is not being challenged. And eventually your body goes, hey, I'm not using this muscle, so let's just get rid of this stuff because it's pretty dense, and let's kind of keep the fluffy stuff known as fat around because I know that I just have to run to make myself lighter. And so you'll see a lot of people that are frequent, not everybody, but a lot of people that run marathons and things like that. You don't see them have a lot of muscle tissue on their body. They kind of have like a skinny fat build. They're kind of wiry. Whereas we want to do kind of the polar opposite, as opposed to like a sprinter who does squats, who keeps their legs really strong. They might be chiseled from head to toe because they're focused on really ramping up their heart rate, working on those muscles, as opposed to just running for a long period of time. So in terms of fat loss, it's one of the most efficient things you can do. You're challenging your muscles. You're getting the breakdown and the repair that comes with the results. And then you're also keeping your heart rate elevated too. So you're maximizing everything to the best of its possible potential, right? You're spiking your heart rate, which is going to cause an increase in calories and an increase of fat burning. And you're also going to challenge your muscles as well. That when that comes down to it, the more lean muscle tissue your body has, the harder your body has to work to preserve that. And in turn, that's what elevates your metabolism, and that's what burns off all the body fat as well. So that is the breakdown of it all. And then, like we said, guys, it's one of those things where if you don't use it, you lose it. Where people think, okay, I'm getting older, high intensity interval training kind of freaks me out a little bit. But again, you set the bar for what your high intensity is. So, and the cool thing, especially with our gyms, is everything is based off of timed intervals for you guys. So if it is your first day, it's not like we're saying you got to do 60 of these and 70 of those and 80 of those and then 100 of those, where you're like, I haven't moved my ass in 10 years. Doing 10 of these is a big stepping stone. We don't do that. Instead, we say we're going to work on this station for 30, 45 seconds or a minute. In that time frame, you set what that intensity is to you. Is that 10 burpees in 30 seconds? Cool. That could be like climbing a mountain for somebody who's new. It might be 5. It might be 50. So even though everybody's working out together, their intensities are all different because everybody has different body types. Everybody has different chapter ones in their life. And eventually you grow out of that. You go, okay, I used to be able to do 5 burpees in 30 seconds. I've graduated to 7 and then 10. And you can see how your intensity begins to grow the more used to you get. They're the more used to actually working out that you get and challenging your body over time. So that is my plea to you guys, is if you have not incorporating some kind of high intensity interval training, the best thing is, if you even don't have 30 minutes, do 20 minutes. Bounce around between 2 movements. Pick 2 things, 1 strength training, 1 cardio base. It can be push-ups and burpees. It can be squats and then mountain climbers. It can be sprints and then sit-ups. You can combine this with anything, but you're going to reap so much more benefit. And you're going to notice your workout is probably 10 times better than if you went to the gym and you went for a jog on the treadmill and you did a little bit of these and a little bit of those. And that machine looks cool. I'll do 10 of those. And then I'm bored and I'll go for a walk again. This is the way to do it, guys, if you want to see some kick-ass results. I promise you. And then what else? Like always, guys, supplements. If you need anything, head to core4supplements.com. If you type the code word podcast in at your checkout, you'll receive 10% off your entire order. And if you spend over $100, you will get free shipping on all of what you ordered. So if you want to grab a few things, now that we're on the topic of protein and muscle building, our protein is freaking awesome. The vanilla is great. The chocolate is great. The cinnamon bun is great. It's very kind of fall-y. So now that the seasons are changing, it basically tastes like if you had a bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch and you ate all the Cinnamon Toast Crunch and you had the milk left over. That's my best depiction of what the cinnamon bun protein tastes like. So swipe away and enjoy. But again, guys, core4supplements.com. Use the code word podcast when you check out. You'll save 10% off everything. And you get free shipping if you spend over $100. But everything on there is delicious. I know the kids are going back to school. It's kind of flu-y season. We have immune gummies, which I take every single day. They're little gummy bears. They taste like a little treat. I just take 2 in the morning before I go to work. And besides last week, I'm still a little bit raspy. I don't know if this is sinuses or I'm losing my voice or maybe I'm going through puberty. But I'm coming out to the tail end of it. But that's been the only illness that I've had. But we have a long way to go before the seasons change. So in a nutshell, grab whatever you need, guys. Core4supplements.com. Love you guys. Have a great freaking month of October. Fall is here. Time to get your butts in the gym. Time to do some HIIT training. Set the bar. Kick some butt. Take some names. And I will see you all in here next week. Adios.